Så där, då är min klocka 9 här på den 3 juni. Och ni som har kommit in nu, det kanske rullar in en och annan deltagare under de närmaste minuten, är varmt välkomna till det här webbinariet som ska handla om grundläggande färdigheter. Och hur kan de här utmaningarna kring grundläggande färdigheter bli till möjligheter i vår fråga idag. Och vi som har bjudit in idag, det är Skolverket i samverkan med NVL, Nordiskt nätverk för vuxnas lärande, som Skolverket ända sedan 2009 har uppdrag i att representera. Ett av de nätverken är just kring grundläggande färdigheter och där finns jag, Agneta Kronqvist, och min kollega Mikaela Blume som idag kommer att guida er genom det här webbinariet tillsammans med våra kollegor från Skolverket, och också vi har några gäster också från UHR som representerar EPALE, och också från Finland faktiskt ska vi få höra ett exempel ifrån vår ganska nya inspirationsmaterial. Vi har också några deltagare från våra nordiska grannar också, så vi hälsar såklart också ni från Åland, Danmark och Finland hjärtligt välkomna. Har det tillkommit några fler så är ni också förstås välkomna. Vi spelar ju in det här webbinariet ända fram till vi delar upp oss i grupper, så är det så att man inte vill synas på bild så stänger ni bara av er kamera. Men då börjar vi. Ska jag försöka att gå vidare med mina bilder här. Det verkar inte vara. Mårten, som också är vår tekniska.
Ja.
Kommer det säga att jag inte
jag kan se det i alla fall. Men jag vet inte, är det för du inte kan skifta från slide till slide?
Ja, det verkar. Nu, så ska jag säga, jättebra. Nätverket för grundläggande färdigheter är ett nätverk inom NVL som sagt. Vi följer upp alla PIAK-resultat. Hur ser det ut bland vuxnas lärande i 40 olika länder. Vi fokuserar också på målen på agendan, alltså att öka antalet deltagare inom vuxenutbildning, men också på betydelsen av att använda digitala verktyg. Ingår också i en vision 2030 att Norden ska bli världens mest hållbara integrerade region. Och nätverket består av Sverige, Danmark, Finland, Island och Norge. Och för några år sedan, 2 år sedan ganska precis, så kom det här nätverket ut med en rapport där vi hade tittat på just hur ser det ut då i våra nordiska länder med digitala färdigheter grundläggande. Och vi vet att vi är duktiga i alla nordiska länder på just digitalisering, men fortfarande så finns det en stor grupp personer, individer som inte har de här, eller som har svaga grundläggande färdigheter och just digitala färdigheter då. Vi såg en hel del utmaningar i de här resultaten i rapporten, och det är bland annat att målgruppen är svår att nå. Många i den här gruppen finns varken i studier eller i arbetslivet, så därför är de svåra att nå. Gapet är fortfarande stort mellan de som har färdigheter och inte har, så att likvärdigheten också blir en stor utmaning. Det kanske är så också att man inte har motivation att vilja gå in i studier och kanske inte heller har motivation att fullfölja dem heller. Och som en av de andra utmaningarna också att lärare saknar emellanåt också den här digitala kompetensen som behövs för att faktiskt lära ut till de här individerna som saknar färdigheterna. Så att vi bestämde i år, eller faktiskt under förra året, att vi behöver ta fram lite lärande exempel på där det faktiskt fungerar på olika sätt utifrån de här utmaningarna. Eller hur, Mikaela?
Ja, men precis. Och de här lärande exemplen, de utmynnade i ett inspirationsmaterial som heter Få vardagen att fungera för alla. Och där har vi samlat 10 stycken reportage om grundläggande färdigheter i Norden med exempel från alla våra nordiska länder. Och det är på olika nivåer, det är folkhögskolor representerade, det finns SFI, det finns andra typer av exempel på hur man kan jobba. Och vi har ju även sett utöver det här skriftliga materialet att det också finns ett stort intresse av att få ta del också så här i webbinarieform kring hur man kan göra med den här utmanande målgruppen. Så att det är ju en av anledningarna till varför vi är där vi är just idag. Och jag tänker att vi ska titta vidare lite grann på hur programmet kommer se ut under den här förmiddagen. Det som händer just nu det är att vi säger hej och välkommen. Alldeles strax så kommer vi att lämna över till vår finska kollega som kommer att berätta lite grann om lärares digitala färdigheter i Finland, Jaakko Vuorio. Därefter kommer EPALE Sverige, Maria Wemberg från UHR, att berätta lite grann för oss. Och sen så kommer vi att ha en workshop kring grundläggande färdigheter i Sverige kring behov, utmaningar och möjligheter. Och jag tänker att vi ska inte dra ut så länge på det här utan det är lika bra att vi sätter igång, Agneta.
Det gör vi. Och I will switch to English for some minutes and say very welcome to Jaakko Vuorio from Finland. You are a project coordinator from the Finnish National Agency for Education, and I hope I will stop sharing my slides. And I hope you are back.
I'm back.
Yeah, good. Thank you very, very much. And based on the challenges related to teachers' digital competences, you will present a system, a Finnish system, where teachers teach other teachers in digital skills. And this, of what I can understand, this system facilitated the digital transition during the pandemic as well. So very welcome, and I assume you want to share some slides with us.
Yeah.
And this is also one of the examples in this material that Michaela was talking about.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So thank you for inviting me to this event. And my name is Jaakko Vuorio, and I work at the Finnish National Agency for Education. And basically, our agency is very much like Skolverket in Sweden. So we work under the Ministry of Education, and our main tasks are to develop and train teachers in every education level in Finland, from early education to higher education. And also we administer the curriculum processes, we fund schools and municipalities, we train teachers, and so on. So if you want to know more about Opetushallitus Utbildningsstyrelsen, you will find more information from our website. You can Google Opetushallitus or Utbildningsstyrelsen Finland, so you will find the website. So I work at the agency, and my main job is to work with Erasmus Plus projects in our agency. But during COVID-19 pandemic in early 2020, of course, quite a lot of things changed in our agency, and there was quite a lot of different projects and ad hoc projects that we had to build up. And my task during that time was to coordinate a national report about how things went in Finnish education system, how teachers coped with distance teaching, distance learning. And from those experiences and from that report, I'm gonna showcase some of the important notions that we've learned in Finland during COVID-19, and especially from the aspect that what is the kind of like level of Finnish teachers' digital skills. So just to kind of like create a context where we are, like in other Nordic countries, Finnish schools are quite well equipped from digital point of view. So the infrastructure in schools is quite in a good level already before COVID-19. So we use mainly Microsoft and Google ecosystems. There is a centralized school-home interaction that is called Wilma or Helmi. And these are, for us in Nordic countries, these kind of like digital ways or digital services might sound in a way like kind of basic, but what we learned in the very first months, very first weeks when COVID-19 struck the education system, we had a lot of interactions and a lot of conferences with other nations in Europe, and the thing was pretty bad in some of the big countries in Europe, for example Germany, that they didn't have any kind of like digital ecosystem built up during the early weeks in COVID-19. So when we kind of like when I'm showcasing these things, these are really from like Central European point of view, these things sounded quite sophisticated. So yeah, in elementary schools, 50%, so roughly half of the learning material was already provided by publishers, and these contents were already digital. So schools were using already digital material. There was of course books, but the trend was already being towards more digital learning contents. So teachers' ICT skills. So those were in a fairly good level, I would say, before COVID-19. But still there was some issues that the progression was started to stagnate somewhere in 2017, 2018. Schools in Finland in elementary, upper secondary and so on, they have quite good internet connections, and most schools and education institutions have devices, not maybe for everyone, but in a way that it was sufficient. The biggest problem in Finland is and was that there is too much variation among schools and especially among municipalities that arrange education. So this is of course something that we are still figuring out and putting money into, that the equality and equity in Finnish schools and education system should be in level in the future. So we gathered the evidence and data started in April 2020, and we inspected quite a lot of material from Finnish research communities, research reports about how COVID changed education, or how teachers felt using Microsoft Teams in their teaching, or how teachers felt that did they have enough skills and knowledge to use distance teaching methods and so on. But we also inspected quite a lot of material from international sources as well. Also, we inspected quite many reports from Nordic countries, and then we compiled those together. And the results were, well, roughly results were that Finnish education was coping quite well during the pandemic, and it was also other Nordic countries were in the same kind of like level. And I think this is something to do that Nordic societies have quite Nordic societies are quite digitalized societies. We have quite a long history with mobile technology, Ericsson, Nokia, and so on. We have very long history with internet from early ages, because Nordic countries are quite rural places, so people need connections, and internet and mobile connections were seen as something that would benefit the common folk, and of course education and schools were part of this process. So that is something I think is really important, and every time I speak in international events, and people are asking us that why did you cope that well? I think it's mainly, not mainly, but maybe partly because in Nordic countries the societies are very digitalized, and we have quite a long history with using devices, and of course schools have used internet already 2 decades and so on. So there's quite a lot of history behind this. So as I mentioned, the real challenge still is in Finland is the level of teachers and students' digital skills and the spread and quality of devices in municipalities. So there is, on the other hand, we have rural schools, rural municipalities that may have challenge to even deliver education because the student amounts are so small, and rural places are losing people to big cities, and then also those places may have we have seen that those places usually have the digital skills are not in very good level, because they may not have digital devices and quality material in those rural places. So it's a really challenging, but I think there is good political and policy processes going on, and funding as well to tackle this issue. So if I talk more about the teachers' digital skills, I think Finnish teachers are great that they are really critical to many issues, and they want to learn by themselves. They want to explore and discover new pedagogical ways to teach, and this goes also to digitality, and this goes also to using ICT teaching. So teachers kind of like basic mindset is that they are a bit critical, which is good. And of course, they have different beliefs and attitudes towards digital technology, because digital technology, media content in digital environments, it's not always something that would be a positive thing. There's of course a lot of things that need to be addressed and think through before using in classroom settings. So teachers' digital skills have improved in over the years. We have seen this in many PISA reports, in European reports, ESSI report in 2014, but this progress started to stagnate right before COVID-19, and there's been government level reports there where we have tested hundreds of teachers and their ICT skills, and really discovered that that the positive progression started to stagnate, and then COVID-19 came. So it's really interesting to see now that how are the digital skills progressed after or during the COVID-19, and we've already seen that of course digital skills have improved, because distance education and all the digital processes related to that have kind of like forced teachers to use devices, use new learning content that they have never used before. But of course there's some issues still related to digital skills. It's not only that am I able to use this computer, or am I able to use Microsoft Teams for distance teaching and so on. there's quite a lot of things that we are also tackling. And one of the things is that schools are still, and education institutions, schools from early education to upper secondary, they still remain a bit too teacher-centered when it comes to using ICT in teaching and learning. And this is something that that we have witnessed from PISA reports, for instance. And we know that, for instance, Denmark, this situation is completely different, and also in Iceland, that schools here in Finland are a bit too teacher-centered still. But I think that COVID-19 have changed this situation because in a way, students have, during the COVID, students have taken quite a lot of new ground from themselves and started to take action to kind of like help teachers to use, for instance, Teams or Google products, to use new devices and so on. So there's a lot of things that have gone to a positive direction in this area as well. So something about tutor-teacher model. This is a really distinctive model in Finland, that we have certain teachers in schools that have been trained to use digital devices and so on. They have been trained to use digital means in a pedagogical way, and also to train their peer teachers, peer colleagues. In 2015, government in Finland introduced this model as part of the government's kind of like plan, political plan. And the idea was to have one tutor teacher in every municipality in Finland and in every school. And in 2018, there was already 2,289 tutor teachers in Finland. And on average, one tutor teacher had 21 teachers for tutoring. And this means that these tutor teachers, they have certain amount of hours in week that they can spend to tutoring. And tutoring can be that they arrange workshops in schools, they arrange training in schools, they go to other trainings to train themselves. They go to events where all the tutor teachers of one municipality get together and change ideas that how can we train this new pedagogical way for other teachers, or how can we tackle issues or also social issues in schools. But mainly tutor teachers have been trained for new pedagogical innovations, social innovations, and to use digital ways for teaching. And luckily it was a real luck that we introduced this already in 2015, because in 2020 when COVID changed everything, we already have this network model built up. In every municipality, we already had kind of like the trainer who trained other teachers to use distance learning methods, for instance, or to use Microsoft Teams, or how to use cloud services from Google, or how to use YouTube for teaching and so on. So it was a really luck that we had this network built up. It's a really interesting method or model. For instance, Estonia has something similar. They have what they call educational technologists in every school, and they train those technologists in higher education. So it's a bit different. So every tutor teacher in Finland are teachers, and they teach their own class or they have their own subject area. But in Estonia, they have the educational technologist is trained from very beginning in a different way, and is maybe a bit more technical support in school. Of course, we still, after COVID, we still have quite a lot of things that we have discovered what do we have to support schools and teachers. And teachers in our national report that I mentioned, teachers need support for how to use different softwares and learning content, and they need knowledge and experience how to arrange assessment and interaction in digital learning environments. So assessment and interaction in COVID was and is still kind of like a thing that how to arrange these two subjects in a meaningful way in digital environments. But of course, student welfare and support mechanisms are really important as well. And all of these things are related to tutor-teacher model as well. So already during COVID, when the schools were shut or partly shut in Finland, the tutor teachers were steered to provide support in these kind of like focal areas. So how to use different softwares, how to arrange assessment, but also how to maintain student welfare and how to support students in distance learning. And schools, headmasters, municipalities, school administration were reporting that they want to have clear rules, norms, guidance, and shared practices. And this is something like interesting because in Finland and maybe in other Nordic countries as well, schools are really, they have autonomy, municipalities have autonomy, and we don't have a central government in that sense that maybe other countries have that, that we as an agency, we are not saying what schools should do or should not do. We just provide the curriculum and guidance and support as good as we can. But in the end, schools and municipalities have the means, and we don't kind of like we are not trying to lead them in a strict manner. But then in COVID, the schools really and municipalities stated that they want to have single uniform rules, what they want, how to arrange distance teaching and learning, how to train teachers and so on. So this was a really interesting notion as well. As I said, schools and education providers have been very pleased with tutor-teacher model, and it's been a great support mechanism and endorsed widely. So it's a model that is not perfect, and it still needs funding, and it needs further developing. And usually when governments build these kind of like networks, they tend to stagnate and kind of like lose interest. But in that sense, we of course have to kind of like maintain this network and try to feed as much as possible new ideas to maintain certain interest among teachers and so on. So I want to close my presentation for this slide. I want to share with you the latest publication that will come out in coming days from UNESCO. So we have been working with UNESCO to try to create a publication about kind of like case study from Finland, that how did Finland coped with COVID-19 in education, what did we do, and what did we learn from our experiences. And these are certain highlights from that publication. So of course, there is a lot of policy work ahead, how to maintain the focus in equality and equity. This goes, of course, to teachers' digital skills, how to advance those skills in nationwide level. there's distance learning methodologies that should be advanced as well. But also, I want to say that it's really important to have some sort of tracking and evaluation of how teachers' digital skills progress. In Finland, we have used a national kind of like internet-based questionnaire called OPEKA, which is already 10 years old questionnaire for teachers to evaluate their ICT skills. And then we have also the European-wide selfie. It's called selfie tool. That's for teachers and students to evaluate their ICT skills. So these kind of like tools are self-questionnaires tools are great if we want to have some sort of glimpse or picture how these skills are progressing, or if they are not progressing, and what should we do about it. Teachers should be provided with guidance and support mechanisms to help implement distance learning in blended learning settings. And this is something that although we are hopefully we are in the last phases of COVID and we can forget it and move on. But I think we should not abandon the really good experiences that we had. Teachers should in the future, teachers should also be trained to use remote teaching methods and so on. These are really good skills to arrange education in future as well, to move seamlessly in different learning environments. And it's also that maybe in Finland, in rural areas, this should be also a way for some families to get to kind of like participate to education, because Finnish Lapland and some other rural areas, those places have quite a lot of families that are they have a quite long distance to school, for instance. So there's still some places where distance education is of course a solution or part of the solution. To the teachers, as said, or similar kind of like peer mentoring should be in place in future. We think and our agency is really trying to maintain this network and trying to develop it further. I think it is really important that in schools we have some sort of network that can be steered or that can be trained. And as we know, teachers learn better when their colleague is teaching or training other teachers. So that is really user-friendly way to arrange peer learning in schools. So yeah, thank you. If you have any questions, I'm really happy to answer. And these are the 2 reports that are about Finnish education during the COVID, and there's quite a lot of really important stuff regarding the teachers' digital skills as well. So thank you.